Welcome back to Adapted Adventures. I'm Casey, and on this channel we talk about wheelchair equipment, accessible travel, and lifestyle tips. If those are things that you think might interest you, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. So on this week's video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that I feel pretty strongly about. And I've had some experience over the years, and as we've done the YouTube channel, we get actually quite a bit of questions about sometimes. And that's kind of the knowing your equipment. So I've done a number of different videos on how to do different wheelchair like repair and maintenance on your chairs and your equipment. And I'm a huge proponent of, while you might not be able to, not everybody is a huge handyman, and I've been blessed to be able to have, great, even though I have my disability, I have, hand dexterity and the ability to still work on my chairs. But beyond that, or I kind of like a foundation of that, is I know my equipment quite well. And I think that is a knowledge base that most of all of us can have, that use a manual chair or even a power chair or any kind of mobility equipment can intake and have for ourselves. And the reason I talk about this like this is because I know even if you won't be working on your chairs yourselves, to have that knowledge base so that you can knowledgeably speak to a tech who might be trying to order you a part or come to figure out what is going on with your chair. When you can knowledgeably speak about, hey, it's this, and I'm pretty sure this is the problem, it's going to make your life and the people who are trying to help you and be resources to you a lot easier too. And in the long run for you, it's going to make you more independent. It's going to make your life less of a headache, so that you can tell them, hey, I think this is broken and I need this, as opposed to them trying to guess, and maybe you end up having to reorder a part, or they don't get you the right thing right the first time. And there are a lot of resources out there to be able to do this. One thing, for example, that I do, or that you could do, if anytime you order a new piece of equipment, it's always going to come with some sort of user manual. Like my Freewheel came with a user manual. All your chairs, I think, probably have to come with them. So one thing I do, especially if it's a chair or a manufacturer that I'm unfamiliar with, for the very first time, when I get that user manual, open that baby up, and probably somewhere in there is a parts like catalog or something like that. And it shows up, usually will show like a blown up picture of all the different components of your chair, and just kind of go through that to make yourself, you don't have to memorize every last part, but like some of the major ones, so that you can say, hey, like you're calling your guy because it's been 2 years since you've had the chair and your bearings and the front casters are wearing out. You can call, like, even if you don't want to go through insurance, or you get in a pickle and you don't have time to go through insurance, and call your guy and they, look up the serial number on your chair, and you tell them, instead of being able to just say, hey, my caster on my front right side is not working, or it's stuck, and they send out a tech to see if they can fix it, you can say, the bearings on the front right side of my casters are shot. I need new bearings. Can you order me this size? Or if you're like, you get in a real bad pickle and you're stuck on vacation somewhere and they're seized up, you can probably, I say this probably, be able to go into like a bike store or something like that and be like, I need, a bearing for my front caster. I know that it's the inside diameter is this and the outside diameter is this, and they can get you that. And, if they know that, even if you aren't going to do the repair yourself, but that bike shop or the tech for your DME is going to come out and help you with that, then they know that they brought the right part the first time, and they can fix that for you and get you on your way and get you back to living your life. So yeah, like knowing your chair and knowing the parts of your chairs can be a huge benefit for you as you're maintaining them, and as if something does go wrong, repairing them, whether you're doing that yourself or not. The other big thing about knowing the parts of your chair, and not just parts, but also how all of them are integrated and how the chair is built to, like, not like I need to know how it's engineered, but like about the anatomy of the chair, is so that when it's time to get a new chair, whether that's, and I will admit I don't know a lot about the power chair side of the industry and stuff like that, but for me and my manual chair, knowing the different terms of camber and, like, this is not the official term, but dump, which is the difference in height between the front of your seat and the back of your seat, knowing those things. So as you become more familiar with yourself and with your equipment, you can say, like, hey, I know that I don't like, for me, for example, I don't like zero camber at all on my wheels because for me personally, when it's zero camber, it almost feels like and camber again, sorry, is how much your wheels slant in or out when they're on your chair. So zero camber for me is a little bit uncomfortable because I feel like it almost makes the wheel, even though it's zero, which is straight up and down, it almost feels like they're in like this, and I don't really like that. So I like to have a little bit of camber, like probably on a J chair for me. I used to have more back in the day, but like I like having just a little bit, probably a half a degree to a degree, and that gives me just that little bit of extra stability, but also it keeps my chair the narrowest possible so that I can, get into smaller things when we're traveling, or the possibility of being able, like right now, I know my chair can fit down the aisle of a 737. So like I can go to the gate agent. This is just an example of knowing my chair, like a real world example. I know the exact width of my chair, and I can go to the gate agent and ask him, what plane are we flying today? He said 737. Okay. I don't need an aisle chair today. We can just roll onto the plane and I can transfer. So having that kind of information in the back of your mind that's one example of that. The other big thing is when it's time to order a chair, the techs and the people who are gonna they call them ATPs, assistive technology professionals, I think. They know a wide array of different equipment pieces, like wheelchairs from different manufacturers and things like that, and they're going to work with the reps from those companies when they come to fit you. But guess who knows you best and what your preferences are? That's you. A tech can an ATP or a rep from a company can suggest all sorts of things, but they don't know you personally. They don't know how it makes you feel, and admittedly some of this is trial and error, as if you're a paraplegic who might have been in an accident and you haven't been in a chair for a number of years, relying more heavily on the recommendations of those professionals at first is probably a great idea, because they're going to try to help you kind of navigate it for the very first time. But as you get to learn your preferences and what you need for the type of life you're living, you need to be knowledgeable about, like, hey, I don't want camber like this, or when you put too much dump in my chair, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Where in general, dump might be good for somebody who has your level of disability. Like for example, I have a friend who's been in a chair, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years now. He's a higher level disability than I am. He's still a paraplegic, he's not quite a quad, but like I remember him and I talking about him getting his first chairs, and they were telling him to get quite a bit of dump in his chair, and he found out later that, like, even though he's got a higher level disability, that in general would dictate having more dump, that that difference between the front of the chair and the back of the chair. He preferred something a little bit flatter because he could still function and not be uncomfortable. He also, for as high as his disability is, he has a pretty low backrest, and for him, because he's in rather like independent living, he loads his chair in and out of his car himself like that. He wanted that. He knew the quote risk of having a lower back, but he wanted that to keep the footprint of the chair smaller, because it fits in his car better. So knowing those things of backrest height, the angle at the backrest compared to your seat, those types of things, all kind of can determine your comfortability and how much enjoyment, how comfortable you're going to be in your equipment. So as you go through and get more familiar, if you're newer, or even if you've not had that experience before but you're trying to gain that knowledge, open up your parts manual. I'll try to find a link, and you can get like what the ATP is looking at when they are helping you fill out get fitted for a chair. And so you can go through there and be like, okay, I know what this is, or like what they're looking for when they do these things. Different angles, camber, backrest angles, width of your chair, all of those types of things, so that as foot plate width, foot plate angle, what the different types of foot plates are. Those are all at the end of the day, once you become knowledgeable enough about yourself and your equipment, a lot of that is preference. There might be certain things that you specifically need, but like at the end of the day, like I said, most of that stuff is going to be preference. And admittedly, you might need, if you're newer to the community because of a newer disability or something like that, you might need more things as you kind of navigate how to become more independent. But over time, what I've realized in my experience was, I can't speak to this personally because I've been doing a chair all my life, but I guess on a certain level I can, because when I was younger, I did rely on more, quote, adaptive pieces to my chair. And as I learned and grew and my circumstances in life changed, I realized I will actually be more independent if I take off the tip bars, for example, or if I take off the push handles. Because right now, I rarely need help. Like at this chapter in my life, I rarely need help getting pushed around, and you might need that more depending on your ability or your experience, maybe if you are newly injured or younger. But as you grow, it might be like, hey, I'm getting my chair in and out of my car myself now, and those push handles are in my way. So you order the next chair, get those off, or get ones that fold down that are out of the way. The chair is going to be lighter. It'll be easier on your shoulders. Those are the things you need to learn. So I hope that kind of opens up your eyes to what you might be able to gain from having a bigger and broader knowledge base of the type of equipment that you have and the parts and the lingo, so to speak. If you have specific questions or think there are videos that I could do that might help you gain that knowledge base and help me be a resource to you, drop a comment down below, and Andrea and I will talk about it, and we can see if we can get you some videos out to help you with this. So I hope you found this one helpful and giving you some knowledge. If there's more specific things you'd like to see in the future, we'd love to do that for you too. And we'll see you on the next Adapted Adventures.